Virgo, they figured it out, not because someone told them, not because anything changed on the outside. They figured it out alone, in the quiet, when there was nothing left to distract them from what they had been avoiding for months. They made a mistake, a real one. The kind that sits in your chest in the morning before the day gives you anything else to think about. The kind you cannot argue yourself out of, no matter how many times you try. The kind that does not soften with time the way you expect it to. The kind that actually gets louder the longer you refuse to deal with it directly. Losing you was the mistake, and they have been living inside that knowledge for longer than you know. After whatever created the distance between you, they moved forward, or tried to, stayed busy, made plans, showed up with enough surface energy that nobody asked too many questions. For a while it worked, not completely, but enough to get through the days without it being obvious to the people around them. But something kept happening. Every time things got quiet enough for the performance to stop, you were there, not as a memory they could visit and leave on their own terms, as something unresolved, as a question that never got its answer, as the feeling of a door that was closed before the conversation inside it was finished. They tried to close it all the way. It would not close. So they tried harder. New situations, new people who were fine, genuinely fine, good even, but who kept failing a test they did not know they were being given, a test with only one passing grade. And the passing grade had a very specific shape to it, a shape that belonged to one person and one person only. Nobody passed. Nobody even came close. And with every person who did not pass, the understanding deepened, became more specific, more undeniable, more impossible to explain away with the kinds of comfortable rationalizations that had been working for a while but that were running out of road. The understanding was this: what they had with you was not ordinary. Not in the way they had been telling themselves it was ordinary, when ordinary was a more manageable thing to believe, not replaceable, not the kind of thing that simply appears again in a different form with a different person if you give it enough time and stay open enough to the possibility. It was specific, it was yours, and they let it go. Let me tell you what they actually lost when they lost you, because I do not think they understood it in the moment. Most people do not. You only understand what someone like you costs when the absence starts showing you things the presence was too loud to reveal. They lost someone who actually paid attention, not in the general, I am a good listener, I care about people way, in the specific way, the way where someone remembers what you said 3 weeks ago that you thought they were not really hearing. The way where someone notices when something is off before you have said a single word about it. The way where being known by another person stops feeling like exposure and starts feeling like rest. That is not common. Most people spend their entire lives in connections that are warm and genuine and still somehow leave them feeling slightly unseen in the places that matter most, slightly translated rather than understood directly, slightly performing even in their most intimate moments because the other person is not quite picking up the signal at the frequency it is actually being broadcast. You broadcast clearly and you receive clearly, and the experience of being with someone who does both of those things with the specific, unhurried, genuinely interested quality that you bring to the people you let close is something this person has been searching for in every connection since you. They have not found it, not even close. Something shifted recently. I feel this clearly, and I want to be specific about it because the timing matters. This is not a slow, gradual dawning that happened over weeks. Something happened, a moment, could have been a conversation that went in an unexpected direction, could have been something they saw or heard that carried your energy into a space you were not physically present in. Could have been nothing more dramatic than an ordinary afternoon where the accumulated weight of everything they had been carrying finally exceeded what they could comfortably carry any further. And in that moment, the negotiation stopped because they had been negotiating with themselves for a long time, building cases, constructing arguments for why the distance made sense and why reaching out would be complicated and why it was probably better for everyone involved to leave things where they were. Some of those arguments were convincing for a while, but arguments that are built to serve a conclusion rather than to find the truth have a shelf life. They start to sound hollow. You can hear the hollow in them when you have been listening to them long enough. This person heard the hollow and they stopped, just stopped mid argument, mid construction of the latest version of the case for why things should stay the way they are. And they sat with what was left when the argument fell away. What was left was simple. They miss you, they were wrong, and they want to come back. No decoration on it, no complicated framing, no version of the feeling that makes it easier to hold or more comfortable to admit. Just the plain, unvarnished, honest truth of someone who has finally stopped being willing to pretend otherwise. Now I need to talk about you. Because this reading is not only about them and their reckoning, it is about what you have been doing while they were working their way toward this understanding. Because you have not been standing still. You moved, not on in the clean, completed, I have fully processed and released this and feel nothing remaining way that people sometimes perform when they want to appear further along than they are genuinely forward. You kept building, kept making choices, kept showing up to your own life with a consistency and a self-respect that did not require anyone else's participation to sustain. There were hard days in that. Days when the forward movement felt more like stubbornness than actual progress. Days when the question of whether any of it was worth it sat heavy and unanswered. Days when you missed what you had with this person in a way that was not romantic or sentimental, but simply honest. The honest missing of something real that had been part of your life and then was not. You moved through those days without making a performance of it, without requiring the people around you to witness the difficulty of it or validate the effort it took. In the private, unglamorous, this is just what continuing looks like way that Virgo moves through the hard things. And you came out on the other side of them different. Not unrecognizable, not fundamentally changed in the ways that would make you someone other than who you are, but developed, clarified, more settled in yourself than you were when this was at its most uncertain, more clear about what you want and what you will not accept and where your edges are and why they exist there. The person this individual is coming back to is not the person they left. You are further along, and they are going to feel that the moment they are back in your presence. Let me tell you about the regret they are carrying. Because it has a specific texture, and I feel it clearly, and I think you deserve to understand what is actually living in this person right now rather than a vague description of someone feeling bad about a choice they made. The regret is not abstract, it is attached to specific moments, specific things they did or did not do, specific moments where a different choice was available and they made the wrong one. Specific conversations where the honest thing was sitting right there and they chose something easier and less true instead. They can see those moments now with a clarity they did not have when they were inside them. Hindsight has given them a picture of themselves in this situation that is not particularly flattering. And they are sitting with that picture, not trying to make it look better than it is, not finding the angles that would make their choices seem more reasonable or more understandable or more forgivable than the straightforward evidence suggests. Just sitting with it with the specific, uncomfortable, mature discomfort of someone who has decided that honest self assessment is more valuable than comfortable self defense. That is not nothing. That kind of honesty with oneself about one's own failures is genuinely difficult. Most people never get there. Most people find a version of events that casts them in a more favorable light, and they stay there. It is easier, it requires less of them. This person went to the harder place. And what they found there in the honest examination of what they did and why, and what it cost you, and what it cost them, and what it has continued to cost every day since, is the thing that is now moving them toward you. Not guilt. Guilt turns inward and becomes about the person feeling it, not guilt. Understanding, real understanding of what happened and what their role in it was and what they want to do differently now that they can see it clearly. There is something else I want to say here, something that I feel is important, and that most readings about someone coming back do not address directly. The coming back is not guaranteed to fix everything. I want to be honest about that because the energy of someone returning after a real reckoning carries genuine hope, and that hope is real and it is earned. But hope is not the same as certainty. And receiving someone back into your life, even someone who has done genuine work and arrived at genuine understanding, is not the same as returning to something that will simply be different now because they want it to be. Real repair takes two people, and both of them have to be willing to do something genuinely new rather than a revised version of what was done before. Whether you are willing is something only you can know. Not from a place of punishment or withholding or making them earn something through a specific kind of suffering, from a genuine, honest assessment of what you want, what you are ready for, what you believe is possible between you now versus what was possible before, whether the thing that failed before has been addressed at the level where it actually lived, or whether it has only been addressed at the surface where it was visible. Those are questions that only your own discernment can answer, and your discernment is extraordinary. Let me speak to what the return actually looks like, because I feel it specifically, and vague descriptions of someone coming back do not give you what you need to recognize it clearly when it arrives. It will not be a grand gesture. This person has been humbled by this experience in a way that makes grand gestures feel dishonest to them now. Grand gestures have a performative quality that does not fit where they are. What they are planning is something smaller and more true than that. A direct reach, something that says what it means, without dressing itself up in anything other than the truth, without the casual framing that people use when they are not quite ready to be honest about their intentions, without the plausible deniability of a contact that could be interpreted as friendly if the response is not warm enough. This will be interpretable. You will know what it is the moment it arrives. You will feel the weight of it before you have finished reading or hearing the first sentence. Something in you will recognize the quality of what is being offered. Not excitement necessarily, not the rush of something surprising. Recognition, the quiet, certain recognition of something that was always supposed to arrive and is finally doing so. Trust that recognition. Do not immediately begin looking for the alternative interpretation that would make it less than what it is. Do not apply the filter of every other time contact was made and it was not what it appeared to be. Let this one be assessed on its own, on its actual merits, on the quality of what is genuinely present in it, rather than on the history of what has been present before. I want to address something that I feel sitting in your energy around this situation, something that you have not fully acknowledged even to yourself. Part of you has been waiting for this, not in the desperate, checking your phone, hoping for contact way, in the quiet way, the way where you genuinely moved forward and genuinely built your life and genuinely refused to put anything on hold, and simultaneously, in the part of you that you keep most private, kept a small and carefully protected sense that this story was not finished, that this was not how it ended, that the last word had not been spoken. You are not foolish for that. You are not naive. You are someone with excellent perception who read the situation accurately. This was not finished. The last word had not been spoken. And your quiet sense of that was not hope distorting your judgment, it was your judgment working correctly. The story is not finished. The next part of it is approaching whatever you decide when it arrives, decide it from fullness, from the version of yourself that has continued and developed and become more certain of its own worth through everything that this situation required. From the person who moved forward when they did not have to, who chose growth when comfort was available, who maintained their dignity and their standards through something that would have diminished other people. That person makes an excellent decision. Whatever that decision is, because it will be made from the right place, from clarity rather than reaction, from genuine self-knowledge rather than the momentum of old feeling or old hurt, from the full picture rather than the partial one. You have the full picture now. Use it. One last thing. What is coming back is not identical to what left. Time has worked on this person the way time works on people who actually let it do its job. The version returning has been through something, has had to look at themselves honestly in ways they were not required to before, has developed through the specific difficulty of living with a significant mistake and choosing to examine it rather than explain it away, a quality that was not fully present before. Whether that quality is enough, whether the development is real and deep rather than surface and situational, whether what is being offered now has the substance to hold what a real future between you would require, that is what your discernment is for. And yours, Virgo, is one of the sharpest things about you. Let it lead. Leave me something in the comments. Tell me if you felt this person in this reading. Tell me where you are with this right now. Tell me what landed. I read every single word, every time. Until next time, Virgo. They know what they lost. They are coming to say so. What happens after that is entirely, completely, and beautifully yours to decide